Hey everyone, it's me, Victoria Baxter. We are back here again. We are going to continue and go on with chapter 8 for Debunking the Fairy Tale of Boaz. This chapter is actually called Once You Got Him, Then What? It's a little bit of, fun, but a little bit of, seriousness or whatever in this chapter. And I'm really kind of going back and forth with talking about once you meet, a good man, whether it's, having him as your boyfriend, your fiance, or your husband. And I'm really doing that because let me just say, I think a lot of times we actually downplay the importance of a boyfriend, a fiance, someone who is courting us, whatever. I look at a lot of posts and I see women who are always attacking other women if they're um, standing up for their boyfriend or standing up for their fiance or standing up for a guy that they're dating, whatever the case might be. We have to keep in mind we got to start somewhere. So a lot of times they I see these social media arguments and and whatever else. I don't care if he has a ring on your finger, you still single. I don't care if he proposed, you still single. I don't care if that's your boyfriend, you're still technically single. Okay, we get that. But at the same time, again, you got to start somewhere. At some point, it's actually meeting them and facilitating the relationship and feeding into the relationship and growing together in order to eventually get to marriage. Now, I am completely against being a boyfriend or girlfriend for many years. That part, I will say, that is a big no-no. And again, not coming after anyone who has done that, or in a sense I am, because I was that person. I was a girlfriend for almost 10 years, and the only thing I was left with was two kids. And I said the only thing, obviously I love my kids, but I know that that was the only good thing that came out of that relationship. Okay, but that is something I will never do again. I'm not going to ever be someone's girlfriend again for for 7 8 years, almost 10 years in that situation, whatever. Again, I feel like we're getting older. I think that once you are walking with God and once God has cultivated and molded you, and you are now, you know how to test someone by their fruits. You know when you are in the presence of a godly man. You have said the prayers and everything, and you know if God is showing you this is someone that you can continue on this relationship with. This is someone you can enter into a relationship with. This is someone who is going to be your spouse, is already your spouse, someone that you're going to marry, whatever. So hopefully I've made that part clear, because again, I'm kind of talking and speaking to all of those things in chapter 8 about once you got them. So again, I'm just over people downplaying boyfriends. I mean, you could have like just entered into that relationship a week ago, like not even giving it a chance, before people get married and we're already attacking and saying, oh, that's just your boyfriend, who cares? Anyways, I digress. It was interesting to me. I saw somebody, a post that this lady had made on Facebook, and I did give her credit for it because I quoted it inside this very same chapter. And this is how I'm going to start off with it. She said, I cooked when I asked. Sometimes he didn't even have to ask. I cleaned and I did laundry. I was supportive. I was patient. I was nurturing. I was submissive. I listened. I came when called. I was sexual and never denied him or deprived him. I kept myself beautiful. I was forgiving. I was thoughtful and loyal. I was a friend. I was a lover. I was a woman, a good woman. Yet and still, I was not enough for the wrong man. I was enough. I was more than enough. But for the wrong man, it didn't matter. You can be a rib all day, but a rib cannot fit comfortably into a body it wasn't designed for. That is one of the deepest and realest things I have probably ever read on social media. And what happens is a lot of times, again, being a rib, and we always are walking around parading and talking about how we're gleaning the fields and talking about how worthy we are and how much of a good woman we are. Once you know it, just walk into it. You don't have to prove it to anyone, first of all. But at the end of the day, no matter how good of a woman you are, if you're not dealing with a good man, and if you're not dealing with a man who is ready for that and who is ready for you, then none of those things matter. Being a good woman is not the key. Being with a good man is the key. And that's what we have to keep in mind. So we need to work on being a good woman, but being a good woman for ourselves first and foremost. We're not changing and going through things and praying and walking with God in hopes that a good man will see us and want us and see, what it is that we're worthy of, and that we're capable and worthy of being a wife. We need to be satisfied with ourselves, and we need to be only aiming to please God, like it even says in Galatians. We are out to get the approval of God, not man. So walk with him and work on yourself and do it for yourself, not in hopes that somebody is going to see you, because once you're doing all those things, you're probably not even going to be necessarily focused on a man at that point. First of all, it'll be nice when he comes along, and that's going to be a bonus, because you're going to be whole and you're going to be in Christ, and you're going to already be in your calling and serving your purpose and fulfilling your destiny. That man is just going to be a bonus. So let's keep that in mind. It's not always about doing everything just for the sake of getting a man. Okay, different strokes for different folks. I always say that as it pertains to relationships, engagements, the Bible. I'm sorry, relationships, engagements, and marriages. But what we have to keep in mind is that the Bible is the one that gives the blueprint for how a lot of things actually have to go and how things are supposed to go. So you don't have to be, and nor are you obligated to be a man's whore, his freak, to do things in the bedroom, to prove ahead of time that you're worth, marrying because your sex is good and you can keep him satisfied. You're not obligated to do any of those things. You're not obligated to let him test drive anything. You can actually get a man, and you can get a good man by actually keeping your legs closed and doing it the way the Bible says that we are supposed to do it, because that is, again, God's way of doing things. You're not obligated to do anything else except for what God says. But we often try to use sex as a means to get love, or we're scared to be celibate, scared to be abstinent, scared to give up sex, because our concern is what man is actually going to wait. What man is going to find me worthy of waiting for? That's what we're really saying. Because there are a lot of men who are actually willing to wait. There are a lot of men that are still virgins. There are a lot of men who are, born again Christians, and who have also taken that vow of celibacy. But we end up thinking that we're going to miss out on a good man if we don't have sex with them. If we're going to miss out on him, honey, he ain't that great. He's not that good of a man if he's not willing to wait on you, and especially if that's something that you know that you're wanting to do. And especially if that's something that you know that you've been called to do. And especially if you know that that's something that God was convicting you on and talking to you about. You don't have to prove yourself to anyone. You can keep your legs closed and see, with your legs closed, is he going to find another way to get inside of you? Is he going to find another way of being intimate with you? Because intimate is when you are opening up to somebody, not opening your legs to someone. But it's when you're opening up to someone and you're giving them insight into your deepest thoughts, your deepest fears, your deepest desires, your dreams, your goals, your ambitions. That is what intimacy is all about. It's not about, proving ourselves worthy with, with how good we are down there, or how, I'm not even going to go into all of that. Some of that stuff is actually inside the book, but I'm going to leave that alone. And hopefully y'all get my point. And just keep in mind, you don't have to prove anything to a man at all, because you are going to carry yourself like a queen. You're going to carry yourself like the woman that you are more precious than rubies, and you are valuable, and you are precious to God, and the very hairs on your head are numbered. And when you carry yourself like that, and you truly have that crown adjusted on your head, a good man is going to see that crown, because it's going to match the crown that he already has on his head. And he's going to say, there's my queen. I've already got all my stuff together. There's the queen who is going to complete me. And not even necessarily complete me. I hate saying that, but there's the queen that is going to compliment me. So that's what you need to have your mind on. That's what you should be focused on as it comes to anything else. But again, once you got them, I always say, there are certain things that we do to get them in the beginning, and you got to figure out how to keep them. And again, don't take it serious, but don't take it too serious. I'm having a little bit of fun with this chapter, as far as once you got them, you got to keep them. I hate those old sayings, but really this chapter is just talking about the things that we need to make sure that we are mindful of in relationships, the things that we need to make sure that we are doing our part. Because we sometimes have this sense of entitlement, a man needs to do this and do that and prove himself and all this other stuff. We need to check ourselves and see, what are we bringing to the table besides sex? Because if that's the only thing you're bringing to the table, honey, you ain't worthy of getting anything. You're not ready for a husband. You're not ready for marriage. You're not ready for anything if that's the only thing that you're bringing to the table. We have to keep in mind that there are so many things that go into an actual relationship. Like I even talked about in chapter 7 and in that video, Ruth and Boaz, they facilitated a non-romantic relationship before even getting married. We got to look at the characteristics that our partner or potential partner has and what we are bringing. Communication is key. That is one of the number one things, and I even say that is one of the number one problems, that if we fail to communicate properly, that is what can play into a divorce. If we're not communicating properly in the dating phase, that's going to trickle over and cause issues in the marriage that can ultimately lead to divorce. Are you communicating your desires and everything up front? Men that you encounter, do they know where you stand? Do they know how you feel when it comes to marriage, when it comes to, working, finances, children, all of those different things? We have to learn how to communicate what we want. And talking about marriage, once you actually get to the marital aspect of it, you have a lot of women who, again, they never learn to communicate properly. So they're in these marriages and they're either in sexless marriages or marriages where they are not sexually satisfied. Why? Because they don't communicate properly. They're not even communicating, how they're actually feeling about sex or whatever, because they just want to be quiet, and I'm just going to leave that alone. Communication is a big thing. We have to learn how to communicate about everything. Love, obviously, love is a big one. We have to make sure that we are under God's love and that we know how much God loves us. We have to make sure that we love ourselves. Those are the two most important things before we can love a man and receive love from a man. Respect. We have to make sure that we know that we are worthy of respect. First of all, that we are demanding respect from others. We have to also make sure that we are respecting our man, respecting our partner, respecting our fiance, respecting our husband, our potential husband. Because some of these things right here, if you're not doing these things in the beginning, who's going to want to marry you? If you're not showing that you can communicate properly, if you're not showing that you know how to love and that you're able and capable of receiving love, who's going to want to marry you? If you're showing that you're not going to respect him, he's not going to want to marry you, at least not a godly man. Let me clear that up. Loyalty. Can you be loyal to someone? Do you know that you deserve someone to be loyal to you? Let me also say, loyalty, as I had previously, that was something that a conversation that ran deep with my friend and I. Loyalty is not what it used to be, and that is something that I do talk about inside this book. Somehow we've twisted loyalty and made it into being that we're obligated to stay with a man no matter what. That we've made loyalty into something that we either think that we can't do better, or we're loyal to a fault, or we stick with them no matter what. We stick with them through through thick and thin. And you hear a lot of females say, after all we've been through, I'm staying by your side and I'm not going anywhere. We done been through too much and I'm not about to. If you've been through that much, there might be a good chance that y'all aren't supposed to be together. Again, make no mistakes, you're going to have ups and downs in relationships. So that's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying everything is going to be perfect. But for those who go around talking about how they've been through so much and they've endured so much, and that's why they're not going anywhere, that's a problem. Especially if that is the case with someone that you're not even married to. Especially if it's just, a boyfriend or a children's father or something like that. And this is something that's drawn out now for like several years. You've been through all these things and y'all aren't even married. And that's why you're thinking y'all need to stay together. That is not a good look. That is not a good look at all. You're worth more than that. We need to understand what loyalty means. And loyalty, there's a fine line between loyalty and stupidity. And we've got to get over that. We've got to stop being loyal to a fault, because we're better than that. We are so much better than that. I was talking about, I don't want to call names. I don't have time with no lawsuits or no craziness. But I mean, come on, the whole business is out there. If you watch Love and Hip Hop, let me just say that, okay? There is a rapper. I don't know if he still raps, but we know that he had a situation where he was in a long-term relationship with one lady, and I believe they had either one or two children together, and then he actually left her, and then he went to another lady, and he actually married her, not knowing her as long as the first lady, and he had a baby with this one, but then he was still cheating on the now wife and going back to the other lady. Babies keep popping up, and STDs are probably popping up also. I mean, I don't know. I could be wrong, but again, I'm not calling any names so no one can come after me. But I remember my cousin and we were actually talking about this uh on the Shade Room, on the Shade Room's Instagram post. They had put up a clip because this couple had happened to make an appearance on Marriage Boot Camp, and they had showed, something about it. And if I'm not mistaken, my cousin, her viewpoint regarding the whole thing was pretty much these are two women in love. One feels entitled and one is a hopeless romantic, and neither one of them are in the wrong. They're just being women, and that's just how women are. I see her point. I see her point all the way. I see exactly what she is trying to say in that. However, that's that sad mentality of being loyal to a fault. And oh, we're women, we're hopeless romantics. We stand by our man, or we feel entitled because we've been there and whatever else. Again, once you adjust your crown, once you know your worth, once you know that your God would not even want you to be in a relationship like that, once you know that God would not even send you a man that would treat you like that, once you know that God is actually saddened by the fact that you are cheapening yourself to entertain that kind of relationship, you wouldn't allow yourself to be a part of it. I don't want to hear anything about being a hopeless romantic or, sense of entitlement because you've stuck around for 10 years. No, at some point, get up, walk on, and know your worth and do better. Again, I was in a relationship for many years. I have two beautiful children to show for it, but at the same time, I had to realize I got to walk away. But my thing was, no, we've been through too much. What are people going to say? I'm in my 20s. We have two kids. Da 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 da. He had already had three kids before me, yes, and with three different women. I did not want to be just baby mama number four. So I spent my time praying, praying, praying over this relationship and praying that God would bless this relationship, bless this union, bring him to God, set me on fire for God, bring us together, let us get married, let us have a godly relationship, let us have a godly marriage, all this other stuff. My prayers were genuine, they were sincere, and I was earnestly wanting and desiring every single thing that I was asking God for. But as I say, push means that you are praying until something happens. And when you keep on praying in Matthew 7:7, and you keep on asking, and you keep on seeking, and you keep on knocking until the door is open, eventually either your situation is going to change or God is going to actually change your perspective and you're going to view that situation differently. And what I had to realize in that moment was that God went quiet because God was saying, I'm not giving you this, but I'm going to sit back because you're going to have to realize on your own that this is not for you, that I have better for you. And I know that you are concerned about these kids, but there is somebody who is going to come along who is going to love you and who is going to love these kids and who is going to love these kids like they're their own. And I have somebody for you who is going to meet you where you are going to be in Christ. And this man is also going to be walking with me. And the two of you together are going to be a force to be reckoned with. I had to realize that I was cheapening myself and I was insulting God by actually going to him and praying for that relationship. He had so much more in store for me. He had better for me than than I wanted. He wanted more for me than I wanted for myself, but that is the love of God. That is how God operates. And that is why it is so important to find God, to know God, to let God love on you and love yourself before you call yourself wanting to be in a relationship with anybody else. Before you call yourself wanting to be married, first of all, you need to be married to God. Go to YouTube. I got a video on there. Let me be your husband first. God was telling me that for the longest time. But no, not me. I'm hard-headed. I'm hard-headed as I don't know what. My willpower, everything. I don't listen. I've always loved God, but at that point, I did not fully trust God with love and with men and relationships. No, I was in a relationship. God, I know what you can do. I know what you are capable of doing. You put the stars in the sky. You know them by name. You did it all. If you did all that in 7 days, you can fix this relationship. You can heal us. You can bring us together and you can get us to Christ. But God had to step back and help me to realize I have more for you. And he had used the most random person to even relay a message. And when she emailed me one night, even saying, I know this sounds, no, she didn't even say, I know it sounds crazy. She just emailed me and said, hey, God said to tell you, let me be your husband first. I was like, okay, that is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. No, I did not listen. I was like, I'm in a relationship. I'm laying next to the man who is going to be my husband. I didn't want to hear that nonsense. But over the years, it kept coming back to me, kept coming back to me, kept coming back to me. God was saying, before I actually give you to a man, give you to your husband, you are going to be mine first. You are going to be mine. I am going to be your husband first. And I was out of that relationship before you knew it. And I did date around, and yeah, I found myself in sometimes having sex or whatever else. And God was saying, I need you pure. I need you clean. I need you all the way in with me. You are holy because I am holy. I have made you holy. I need you clean. I need you pure. I am doing a new thing inside of you. And I had to surrender. Like I said, I had to get out of that relationship, and I had to finally give up sex. And it was the hardest thing to do. Honestly, I'm being completely real with y'all. It was hard. And it took me 7 years. 2010 is when he was calling me into celibacy. I didn't finally make that decision until January 1st of last year. 7 years I ran from when he was calling me into that and telling me that. And I kept thinking about those words that he said to me over and over and over again. Let me be your husband first. And again, I finally surrendered, and that was the best thing that ever happened to me. I have men now, like I say, they see this ring, and it's my ring to show that I'm married to God at this point, that God is my husband and I am focused on him. And I get a lot of backlash, and even from religious people and Christians, and I really don't care. Leave me alone. I can do what I want. I can wear it on my ring finger, and people, oh, no godly man is going to approach you. That's nice. Move it to the other hand. I'll do what I want to do. We've already established that. I'm going to leave this right here because right now I don't even care about being found by a man. I know my time is coming, but I know that God also told me I need you single in this season for a reason. Saved and single, this woman's ministry, I need you there for a reason. Other people's healing is tied to your obedience. Other people's healing and deliverance is tied to your ministry. I have somebody for you, but I got something I need you to do first. And this book was part of what he needed me to do. This ministry was part of what he needed me to do. The small group, the private group, so many different things. He said, I need you here right now for a reason. All those things that you went through, no longer be ashamed about what you went through. You went through it. I allowed you to go through it. And guess what? Your pain and your testimony is going to deliver and help other people. And it's going to save other people from making the same mistakes that you did. And I said, well, Lord, if I had to go through it to help somebody else, I'm all in. I do not mind. It is what it is. So again, I don't, whatever this ring, and some men don't even notice it. Some men comment on it, and they'll say whatever, man, he must really love you. And I smile and I say, he sure does. Yes, he does love me. He is my husband first, the greatest of all romance. I'm not moving this ring because this is my reminder. For the longest time, I put other men in front of God. Even when I was in a relationship and God was calling me into celibacy, I was choosing that man and choosing sex over what God was telling me to do. For too long, I let other men come first. That ain't happening no more. Right now, I am saying, yes, God, I am going to let you be my husband first. All the reasons that I wanted to get married, I wanted someone to love me and hold me and provide. God is saying, I got you. I can do all those things. I can do all those things better than any earthly man ever can. And until you realize that, and until you trust me, you're going to be single. And he's proven it to me so wondrously and wonderfully at this point. Of course, at this point, I'm like, nobody can even compare with the love that God has for me. There's no man that can even offer me what God can offer me. I'm happy right now. I'm finally, for the first time, content. Of course, the sexual urges would come sometimes. I'm being honest, and I'll pray about those and I'll get over it. I'll put my worship music on when I go to sleep and I let that be that. I say the prayers and I go on about my business. Yeah, it gets lonely. Yeah, you want to take trips and all that other nonsense. But I know that my time is coming. Right now, I am in love with God, and I would recommend highly that you all do the same thing. 1 Corinthians 13 is a perfect thing of what love is all about. And I realized for the longest time I was doing this love thing all wrong. 1 Corinthians 13, 4-7 says, love is patient, love is kind. It does not envy, it does not boast, it is not proud, it does not dishonor others, it is not self-seeking, it is not easily angered, it keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, and always perseveres. That is the New International Version. I realized I was doing love all wrong, and I had a messed up idea of what love even was and is about. And the crazy part for me actually was coming across the 5 love languages. And I realized the part that it played in my life. And for the longest time, I didn't realize that my love language was acts of service. So I equated everybody's love for me with what they were willing to do for me. And not necessarily buy me, because I don't really, unless it's food, don't buy me anything. But like gifts given, yeah, that's nice when people, buy me something or whatever. But acts of service, it was always, what are they willing to do for me? And I would always, again, that was my thing that I used, and I used that to determine how people felt about me, how much they really cared about me. If you heard me complaining about, like, will you take the trash out? Did somebody clean the kitchen? Did someone, make up my bed, take my car to get a car, to the car wash, take it to the oil change, babysit my kids, pick my kids up from school if I needed you to. Those were just the things that I, realized that mattered to me. So for the longest time, if people didn't do those things because they were unable to, I thought they didn't love me, or they didn't love me enough. But not realizing all these different love languages, that they were loving me, but they were loving me according to their love language. They were loving me the way that they knew how, but I didn't see that at that time. And it caused many, problems and issues and whatever. But again, I'm thankful now that that I'm basking in God's love, and that I know what true love is all about. And I know what God says about love. So just keep that in mind as you go forth with just loving God and loving yourself. And that way, once you got them, you'll be good to go, because you're going to be secure with God, and you'll know when you're dealing with a godly man. I will share with you a quick excerpt from the book. And again, this is from Debunking the Fairy Tale of Boaz, copyrighted 2018 by yours truly. Y'all, I got all off course a couple of minutes ago, and now my throat is hurting. You probably can see that I sound like a man all of a sudden, but sorry, sometimes I just get carried away. Obviously, that's why I'm always doing the videos and everything. I have like 2 YouTube channels. Some of you know that I even started like Reach the Online Church here on Facebook, here on YouTube. God he's amazing. He gives me these messages, and he gives me these things to talk about, and I love it. For the longest time, I did what I wanted. I used my voice for whatever. And he's finally said, it's my turn. It's my turn to use your voice. And I have happily obliged to that. And yeah, so that's why I'm doing videos and whatever. Again, this book, y'all are getting a treat. This is a book from God. This is something that he gave me. This is something that sometimes, once the Holy Spirit takes over and I'm in my zone and I'm typing and writing, and I go back and I look at certain things and I'm like, man, that's some good reading right there. And, truly, like, not even remember writing it, because I just really let him take over my fingers, my thoughts, my mind. I'm trying to transform and renew my mind. I let him speak these words, everything. So y'all are getting a glimpse of just what he's doing through me and what he wants me to talk about. So I just want to read this to you, and then I'm going to be done because this video was not even supposed to be this long. Looking back, it makes perfect sense why some of those relationships didn't work out. I was trying to get them to see something that I obviously wasn't very confident in myself. Because if I were truly secure in my being, the neon sign saying, "Here I am," wouldn't have been necessary. Again, Adam needed Eve. I've learned this, and I want to ensure that you know the same. Stop thinking you have to prove something to a man. Stop giving your all to someone that you're not going to be with. Stop giving your all to someone who is undeserving. Stop giving your all. Once you get him, you want to make sure you keep him. I say this more jokingly than anything, as men are something that we shouldn't aim to get. They instead should be seeking to be rewarded with us. But since I aptly named this chapter "Once You Get Him," just humor me. But we must remember that we are the prize. We are worth fighting for. We are worth more than what we have given off and done in the past. Through pruning and dwelling in God's love, we are now aware of these things, right? Right. So we are vowing to be the best wives that we can be with the help of God. You don't necessarily have to be a Proverbs 31 woman, though very admirable, but keep a happy home, keep a happy husband, be his peace at the end of the day, never go to bed angry, stay up and fight if you have to. You've waited patiently and God has blessed you. The rest is up to you both. So, of course, this is just saying once you receive that man, that good man, do what you have to do to please God first, to thank God, and to continue to seek Christ and enjoy your relationship. And if you're in one right now and you know it's with a godly man, enjoy your relationship. And blessings to you, and the engagement, the marriage. Just go for it, have fun, and do it all God's way, and watch how you will be blessed abundantly for your obedience. God bless you all, and I will see you later. We're coming up to the end soon. It's going to be chapter 9, and I think the book is going up to like chapter 13 or something. I don't know, but we're getting close. That time is coming. God bless you all. See you later. Bye-bye.